Alright, while you're waiting for that to dry, you might as well go ahead and set up your firewall. I already made my marks for my firewall, but the easiest way to do it is we're going to go by the thrust line here mostly, and the center line of course coming down. So you want to take your engine, and on the bottom of your engine there's usually a center area that you just want to kind of center it on. So just put that center there, and you want both tabs, both wings, to be right over the top of, like if it was going to be mounted on top of your horizontal center line here, your thrust line. So I'm going to put that right there, center up the motor the best I can. Doesn't have to be perfect at the moment. And remember, on the back of your, or on the side of your engine mounts, there's usually some kind of mark. I don't know if you can even see them because they're black on black, but anyway, there's some kind of mark that signifies where the top of the engine mount goes. So you're going to take the top of the engine mount and stick it underneath the engine mount on both sides. And then you're just going to kind of center everything up. And you want the top of these lines. So once you get your width, just kind of put your finger down on them, hold them down, pull your engine out of the way. So now you just want to kind of line them up straight. Look on both sides of your firewall. You could do it by eye, or you could draw some lines or whatever, and then see where your centers are and center it to the wall, which is fine. You can do either one of them. But once you get the top part of this, the top part of where your engine's going to sit down on, so your engine sits on the top of the mount, you want the top of the mount on the top of this line. So it'll almost be like the bottom of your engine is sitting on that line. That's all we're trying to achieve. So once you get that done, go ahead and hold your fingers down on it. You know your engine fits in there. Trace right around it. And then you could take a marker or some kind of pencil. If you take a control rod, see if I even got a control rod around. Take a control rod, take a lighter, and heat up the end of the control rod. You don't breathe heavy on it. And once you get it hot, you can just take it, hold your finger down there, and just go straight in. And sometimes it'll make a nice mark on the wood. You could paint something on the back, put a dot of paint on the back of that control line and just dot it that way. You just want to get these holes. That's all you're looking to get. You don't need to have the outline on there if you don't want to. But it's nice and helpful to put there in case you knock it over. You don't have to put everything back together again. You can just go ahead and take this and put it right back up on there again. So anyway, you can either do that or just take the actual drill bit you're going to use. Don't have it in the drill yet, but you can make it marked just by spinning it. Like if this was the drill bit, you just spin it back and forth and get all 4 of your marks. And then whatever you're going to mount your engine with, go ahead and drill those 4 marks out. That's pretty much as easy as it is to get your engine mounted and on the thrust line. So after you get this going ahead, then you want to take your blind nuts. Go ahead, just in the size that you're going to drill, is just so your blind nut fits in there snugly. Then go ahead and put your 4 blind nuts in. And then you can just take a hammer and tap them down in. If it's late at night like I usually do stuff and don't want to wake up the house or scare the crap out of the dog, then I'll usually just draw them in with a screwdriver and the screw that's actually going to hold down the engine mounts. And once these 4 pieces are in, go ahead and epoxy right around the edges of them. So if you epoxy around the edge of them, you'll have a nice tight thing in there and you don't have to worry about it. If you don't have your engine yet, don't worry about it. You can still mount your firewall and drill in later because we're going to have a pop hatch in the plane so you can get down in there and get your holes done that way. But that's all you want to do. Just get your 4 holes for this. And when it comes time to mount the engine, I'll show you how to get the holes for that. Alright, as you can see, I've got my 4 blind nuts countersunk down in there. Not countersunk, I just pounded them in with a hammer basically, or back of a screwdriver. So they're flush, so I'm going to put some epoxy around those to hold them in forever, or until my first smash into the ground with them. Then the next thing you're going to want to drill is where your throttle's going to go. Here's your throttle control, so your control horn or your Z-bend is going to be right on this little doohickey right here on your engine. So when you line that up on your firewall, you're basically just going to want to take your control rod and just run it next to it. Doesn't have to be perfect at the moment. You just want to see what angle it's going to be going on. And that's pretty much where you want to run your throttle out of. So I'm going to probably run mine up here right underneath the muffler. And that way I can just make a bend down to it. You can bend these rods any way you want to. And the other hole that you might want is a nice big hole for your gas tank. To just push that through. On this particular model we have the pop hatch that's going to be open and closed so you can get access to the gas tank. So actually all you'll really need, if you don't want to drill that big of a hole in your firewall, which is probably, it's an okay idea if you've got a straight tank like this one is. I'm probably not going to do it anyway. I haven't decided yet. I'm probably just going to drill 2 1/4-inch holes for the fuel tubing and epoxy these blind nuts in. And drill your hole for your throttle, and drill your hole for your fuel tank or your fuel lines. And if you're not sure what you're going to use for a fuel line or fuel tank, don't worry about it, leave it, and we'll get to it later. Same thing with your throttle. If you don't have your engine yet or your engine mount yet, you don't know what you're going to do, we're going to be able to access the back. Don't have to drill any of that out. You can go right ahead and we'll install the firewall soon.